people aren't talking about, but we are. So the skin, we know the skin is three layers: dermis, upper dermis, and hypodermis. The skin is made up of a lot of different things. We have collagen, but there's all kinds of collagen. The collagen in your body makes up that clear little coat over the cornea of the eye. It makes the thick tendons underneath of your foot. It has to be firm for you standing on it all day. The delicate little collagen of the brain tissue, the collagen that's in the lung tissue. So there's all different kinds of collagen. What makes the skin different is the blend of elastin. So Ritalin is a young form of collagen that is found mostly in young children and in babies. And as we mature, it becomes into a stable form of collagen. Your skin cycle, as we may know, as you age, starts to slow down. So from 19 to 20, right, all those years through 20, your skin regenerates in about 14 to 21 days. Around age 40, it starts to take 45 to 60 days for your skin to totally regenerate all the layers and become new again. Around age 50, it takes 60 to 90 days for that same skin to regenerate. And once you hit menopause, it's a 30% drop of the age that you're at in the regeneration of the collagen. So to take care of your skin and to keep it young, it's super important to pay attention to a lot of small details. One obvious thing is the external application of things to keep your skin nutrition-wise from the outside coming in. So if you exfoliate your skin periodically, depending on what skin it is, weekly on your face, bi-weekly maybe on your body, it will help you absorb whatever you're applying on your skin better. Vitamin C applied to the skin is super good because of the antioxidant properties. As you know, the body doesn't store vitamin C, so you have to keep giving yourself vitamin C daily in your nutrition. But it's also really good for the skin. There's all kinds of vitamin C out there on the market. The liquid form, of course, is the best form. When you add hyaluronic acid on top of your vitamin C, both applications grow stronger. So there is hyaluronic acid in your skin that keeps your skin plump and firm. And of course, when you add vitamin C with that hyaluronic acid, it helps replenish your hyaluronic acid in your skin, which is a skin plumper. It's important that you maintain your level of hydration, as we're going to find out this month, not just for the skin, but also for the fascia. So all water is not the same. Mineral water is much better for the skin. So a lot of us are drinking tap water or water that's reverse osmosis or distilled water. You can't drink a lot of distilled water because it literally pulls the minerals out of your body. So you can't drink that a lot anyway. But you should be drinking real, natural spring water that has minerals in it that are naturally mixed from the earth. So that mineral content will help replenish the minerals of the skin. We got a lot more to come this month on the skin. So the skin, we know about the layers of the dermis, but did you know that that skin, just underneath that superficial little layer, there's a gel, a fluid, and it's a mixture of hyaluronic acid, keratin sulfate, chondrontite, I can't say that word, chondrontite sulfate, you know what I'm talking about, glucosaminoglycans and mucopolysaccharides. All of these things mixed together form that emollient little layer underneath that skin. And healthy skin looks like a fern. It has little tiny fibers that stick up out of it. When you're not hydrated, it really puts a stress on that whole subcutaneous layer underneath that skin. So the skin not only wraps us and holds everything in, the skin is that first layer of barrier for the immune system. That layer helps ward off bad bacteria and bad things that come into the body. not just when you have a little cut, but things that invade that body through the pores of the skin. It's important to exfoliate the skin. Depending on where that skin is, you exfoliate a little bit more or a little bit less. That skin that's around the eyes, that skin that's in the neck is more delicate because those parts of the skin have less pores. So they secrete less oils and less nutrients can get into those layers of skin. So those parts of your skin need more nutrition, they need more attention, they need more protection from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. So your skin does protect you to a certain amount from the ultraviolet rays of the sun doing harm to your body. The melatonin in your skin is what is going to give you your skin pigment. The higher the melatonin, the deeper, the richer the color of the skin, the more protection that you have from the ultraviolet rays. We all need some layer of sunscreen if you're out and getting prolonged exposure to skin. Depending on the lighter or the darker of the skin, you'll need heavier protection if you're lighter, and you can go with a little bit less if your skin is a little bit more dark and rich in color. The layer underneath that dermis, that fern-like layer, holds trillions of droplets of water together with the metabolites that are in that liquid that are drawn out of the mineral content, not just of your food, but of the water that you drink. And that thin layer not only protects you from infection, it also carries out toxins through the lymphatic system. Your skin holds everything in and it protects you. It also cools you by sweating. It warms you by closing the pores and help dilating some of the blood vessels on the extremities to keep the core warm and to keep the brain warm. The skin is a fascinating tool. It can heal itself against abrasions, against cuts, against burns. It can help, and it does help absorb vitamin D. Most of that is through the skin, and with that range of ultraviolet light that is good for you, that your skin can absorb. It's important for us to always remember to keep your skin clean, and that exfoliation is super important. You can exfoliate your skin with something as simple as some salt with a little bit of oil. You don't have to buy fancy things. Sugar is an also really good exfoliator for the skin. The skin of the face, you want to be more careful always because of the delicate nature of the skin. It's good if you buy an exfoliant that's just adapted for the skin, but you can always do some very fine ground salt or sugar with honey that will emoliate and protect the skin as a nice little exfoliant for the skin. When you clean your face daily, it's super important for you to remember that you need to rub your face with your cleanser for a full 60 seconds. I know we just go wet, rinse, and run. No. So you need to gently rub and get a whole 60 seconds from the top of your head to the bottom of your décolleté. That should take you a full 60 seconds. The rinsing, I know, don't kill me, double, because you need to really get that water on there. You should see the sink after I wash my face, I leave a puddle. That's why I put a rug down. Super important. Right after you rinse your face, if you leave that excess water, those first 30 seconds after you wash your face is the best time to add whatever nutrition is going in. If you want to just blot a little bit of the excess off and then start with whatever nutrition you're putting in your skin. If you're using your vitamin C, whatever is more watery, the hyaluronic acid, that should go first. Your creamier things should go last. At night, you should not use your sunscreen unless you're living in a country like Alaska where you have 24 hours of sun sometimes. You want to use that sunscreen just once a day. So that skin is that extracellular matrix that holds us in, that protects us. It's able to bear weight, right? It has the weight of all that body pushing against it, but it's also flexible and springy. And there's different amount of collagen in the skin depending on where that skin of the body is. So around the neck, around the eyes, there are less oil glands, and so that skin is thinner. There's less collagen in some of those areas there. The soles of the feet, not only do they have more collagen, they have fat pads. And those fat pads are super important so that they protect your spine every time you take a step. Make sure that you don't slam your heels when you walk, because that affects the skin on the bottom of your feet, which affects the whole alignment of your body. As we talked about before, it's really important to do exfoliation of the skin, but it's also important the nutrition on a nutritional intake level to help that skin be able to replenish and replace the collagen in all the different areas. So things that contain high levels of collagen. Fish is super high in collagen. All the omega-3 oils are super good for the skin. Chicken is also very good for that. But if you don't want to eat any of those things, vitamin E is excellent for the skin. Make sure that you buy vitamin E that has all 8 constituents, because there are 4 of the TOCO-ferols, and there are 4 of the TOCO-trenols. So look that your vitamin E has 8 constituents in it to get the full benefits of your vitamin E. Extra virgin olive oil is excellent for the skin regeneration, not just to eat it. You can whip it with a fork with some mineral water and also apply that to the scalp, to the hair, to the face as a treatment pack that gives nutrition right on the surface of the skin. Raw coconut oil is excellent also, intaking and also applied externally in products and even just on your own. You can make sure that it's nice and liquid, warm it up, and place that on the skin. That extra mile that you do today to take care of your skin with your hydration, with your nutrition, and with your topical application will pay off. Trust me. Remember, from the top of your forehead to the bottom of your bust, all your beauty products are applied, whether you're using the retin A, your vitamin C, your hyaluronic acid, your peptides, all the things that you apply, because a lot of girls don't know and they just apply it to their face, their eyes, and from the chin down, nada. Let me be the first one to tell you have to apply it now. So fascia, myofascia, you've heard about it. What the heck is it? So that fascia runs out throughout the entire body, just underneath the skin. It's a fascia that's a webbing. It connects the whole body to each other. It lays on top of the muscles. So your body talks to itself, not just through the nerves and through the touching, but it also talks through that fascial web. And there are chains of movement that are connected through that fascia. An easy example is when you walk and you have that opposite arm to opposite leg swing. That's a line of force that we distinguishingly work for sure in real Pilates, but it's also a fascia line that you need to be aware of. So it's a vital link for all the muscles to help act together those fascia webbing. The fascia contains mechano-nanoreceptors, which send information to the brain and to the muscle. So I'm sitting here right now, and the fascia is telling my brain that my feet are dangling and there's nothing underneath them. And so the body is supporting my feet now with a different system that it would if my feet were placed on the floor. And all of these things happen through that fascia link. And it's electrical impulse link that also attach to the nervous system and also attach, obviously, to the brain. But there are 2 different systems. The range of motion that you do become stronger. And the ranges of motion that we do in Pilates are done using that fascia muscle link, using that fascia nerve link back to the body, because all of those aspects of their fitness need to be trained. Sometimes people go to the gym and they'll just do weights, or they'll just go do their cardio, and they're not working on that that fascia, myofascia connection, and that energetic connection of the body back into the brain and into the nervous system. So we do specific exercises and specific movements in every class to strengthen that myofascia connection back into the brain. So we've been talking about the fascia and how it holds the body together and it's just under the skin. But the fascia has two rhythms. It has that sympathetic nerve rhythm. And when you touch that fascia through the nervous system, that signal goes to the brain at around 170 miles an hour. And you're like, golly, that's fast. But pressure sensation and pressure communication of that fascial web to itself and to the brain is 3 times faster at 720 miles an hour. So it's that tactile touching that is super important to keep that fascia healthy. When we put our feet on the bar, when we hook our feet under the bar, when you put your hands out, when you touch the table, when you touch these straps, when you touch the apparatus that we're working with, that sends a quicker signal of the body to itself and back to the brain. So your body always has to know where each part of it is at all times. That myofascia helps the body know. When you go to make a movement, that myofascia tells the body, okay, right now that bicep is in a 92.6 degree angle and there's 3 pounds of pressure on it. So the body already makes a quick calculation of exactly how much pressure is needed to pull the hair away from your face. And all of these happen at 700 or more miles an hour. We don't realize it. These are all the undercurrents and the little things that happen behind that conscious mind with that myofascia and the fascia of the body so that your joints are protected, so that you consume just the right amount of energy at the right speed, so that you don't damage your joints, so that you don't damage and tear muscle. When we work in real Pilates, we're constantly strengthening all those connections of the myofascia to itself in the lines of force that run through the body. And I tell you all the time, just because your knee hurts doesn't mean that that knee pain is caused at that knee joint. It can be coming from the foot of that knee. It can be coming from the shoulder on the opposite side. There are lines of force that run through the body, through the fascia, that control placement and control movement that shape the body. And in real Pilates, we work that all the time to keep you at the fittest, at the best condition of your life, and to avoid injury. Right? When people get on your nerves, right? Oh, no, I'm talking about the nerves of the body. So the nerves of your body are controlled by that central nervous system. And there are chains of nerves that are called neurological chains. And they are programmed to help the body have reflexes that protect the body, right? Like if you put your finger near something hot, that reflex just pulls your hand away before you even can think about it. Those nerve reflexes take control, override your use of that arm for a split second, and pull you away from that flame. The nerves have a function for moving you so that you can survive, and they protect you from things that are dangerous from the body. When you have muscles that are underused, that are not used enough, the nerve impulses to those muscles become weak. And then the body finds it harder to connect to those muscles and to control those muscles. So someone may go to the gym and say, oh, I want strong arms. And then they just do bicep, bicep, bicep. And then I'm going to do tricep, tricep, tricep. But yet they're not paying attention to the supraspinatus, to the teres minor, to the subscapularis, to the mid-deep rhomboids, to the serratus posterior. These are little muscles. You don't even know what they are. You don't need to. That's my job. But all of these small underlying muscles are super important for stabilizing the body. And these little tiny muscles need to constantly be called upon. Sally, Roger, Jim, and of course, Larry. I love that name. So all those little muscles need to be constantly used in a sequence that keeps the nerves springy and fresh and alive and awake. That not only makes you look good, feel better, but it prevents injury. You hear of someone tripping and then they break their something, or they reach to put a sheet on their bed and they throw their back out. They already had weak innervation to those muscles. And when the body went to move and use those muscles that weren't used, they weren't being used at the right speed, at the right amount of power, and that muscle had a pull or a strain, and even worse, it can fracture a bone. So it's important to keep that nerve-brain, nerve-muscle connection sharp. In real Pilates, we do that all the time. You can do a lot of basic little exercises. So I want you to put a little timer at your workstation, whether it's standing all day or sitting all day. And every hour, try to change your position. If you're driving, I know it's difficult and it's dangerous, so be careful. But if you can pull over for a second and just bring your knees up to your chest, point and flex your feet. If you're seated, you can do that easily, lifting your knees up for 10 to try to keep the innervation of those muscles sharp. The shoulders and the back of the neck take the first hit in innervation degeneration, as does the trunk. So we've been talking a lot about the nerves and the innervation of a muscle, which is just the nerve talking to that muscle. When you hold postures for long periods of time, like sitting too long or standing too long, not only does it affect the nerves that are being spoken to, right? Because those nerves talk to the brain, and the brain talks to the nerves, and the nerves talk to the muscle. So you see that little menage over there happening, right, between those three planes. If you have a muscle that is not being used, that innervation, as we know, starts to get lost. It's not sharp, it's not as crisp. But besides the nerve aspect of the muscle itself changes its length. So a muscle can be too stretched out and too long. A muscle can be too short. Both of those make the muscle weak, right? It's the Goldilocks. The porridge is too hot, the porridge is too cold. So just stretching, passive stretching, does nothing. It's dangerous for the joint. The muscle has no memory of that movement because you're just putting your leg on something and stretching forward. It may feel good at the moment, but it's dangerous for the joint. It erases good muscle programming, and it's useless. When you have muscles that become displaced, they're no longer their correct length. So here's an example. I'm sitting and I'm typing all day, and the height of my keyboard is not correct. And there's a little tiny lift. That little tiny lift makes that muscle up there, whatever it's called, call it Larry, too short. That muscle becomes short. It's not as strong as it should be. That shortness there triggers a whole line of issues. So that little shortness there can give you carpal tunnel of the wrist. I know. Don't get crazy with it. But when we do Pilates, on Real Pilates, I address all of these things. So you would say, how is laying down affecting my posture? Laying down is phenomenal when you use that pillow under your neck. And I know a lot of us don't have a pillow, and I tell you, roll up a towel. It's super important for that placement of shoulder to ear, to chest, to stomach, to arm, to knee, to foot. And it sounds crazy, but that little pillow under your neck can affect your feet. And as you know, your feet can affect everything, especially your abs. I know if your foot placement is not right, it affects the way that your stomach works or doesn't work. So when you have bad stress on the body, that the muscle is held in a position for too long, it has negative effects on the muscle and on that nerve. And as we know, nerves are super important. So we've talked about the nerves and we've talked about the muscles. So it's super important you understand the idea of what is the core in you. So here you have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head that is 1/7 of your body weight. And all of those things are pulling on that one little spine. Your spine, think of it as a popsicle stick. There's the front, there are the sides, there's the back, there's the bottom of your popsicle stick, and there's the top of your popsicle stick. It's important that you have a stable trunk. Your trunk is anything that's not an arm, a leg, or a head. So there's a bunch of tiny little muscles within the trunk. So people go to the gym or they'll go to an exercise class and they're doing their arms, their legs, and their glutes, but they're not really understanding those little tiny inner trunk muscles. So those deep muscles are what everything is pushing off of. We call it a platform. That core is a platform. So that when you strengthen those little itty bitty muscles that stabilize the trunk, right? So if your shoulders are drooped forward, the upper part of your trunk is not strong. It becomes functionally weak, and that affects your stomach. That little roll forward of the shoulder affects the knee. It affects the low back. Everything is connected. You may have one thing that hurts you, and you're like, oh, my wrist hurts. And you're looking at the wrists like, what's wrong with you? But that pain can come from the upper shoulder. That pain can come from a foot on the other side. And I know you think it's overwhelming, like, oh my God, how do I fix all of that? It's just about getting all the muscles to their correct length so that when you're resting, they're at the right length. So when we do the real Pilates, we stress in all the classes to always start in the right position before you move. And I'll say to lift up your back, to sit straight. I'll take a wooden stick and put it against your butt and see if you can feel it against the back of your head so that your body memorizes that straight placement. So that we say it's vanilla, and you know it's vanilla and it's not butterscotch. Those little tiny muscles that help maintain the stability of your trunk or that core strength. We need to constantly have the innervation or the nerves that talk to those little muscles shut. By using those little muscles, those innervations or those nerves, speak to that muscle clear. They can control that muscle. The brain can hear that conversation and control that conversation. And then you have less susceptibility to injury, you feel better, and you look better. And we stress that in every class. Even though I may not talk about it in every class, it's in there. It's in there. Elbow. The elbow. Why does that elbow get tennis elbow? Well, the elbow is a meeting of 3 bones. So you have this arm bone that hangs. At the end of that, you have that elbow joint. The forearm, to where the wrist is, has 2 bones. So without getting crazy, one is the ulnar, one is the radial. Without getting crazy, let's call them Larry A and Larry B. Those 2 bones cross. And uncross. Cross. I know, it's weird. It happens here. So when you turn your palm up, they uncross. Palm down, they cross. That function of the elbow, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. There's a cushion called a bursa. There's tendons in there that control it. When you have a range of motion in that elbow that's not just so, it affects the shoulder, the neck, the wrist. It can contribute to carpal tunnel. And of course, you can feel that pain right in that elbow. Tennis elbow is an inflammation of that bursa in there. So even though you don't play tennis, you may get that tennis elbow. And people that do a lot of rotating of their hand, don't we all turn the key? Don't we all do rotating? Some of us do it more than others, like a dentist, you know, like a person that turns pages in a book, like a person that does a lot of stuff with their hands, a plumber, a carpenter, they can get that syndrome known as tennis elbow. So right from the tip of the elbow, if you follow it downward a couple of inches, if you feel in there, you'll feel a divot. That's the space between the two bones there. If you give that area a little push, if it's tender, you already have a little something going on. So when you do tricep strengthening exercises, there are 3 triceps muscles back there. All of those muscles meet and form a rope that cross the elbow joint. But at the other side, they don't all start at the same spot. All muscles cross joints, right? It's a basic idea. Muscles only pull, they don't push. They shorten and they move the joint. When you develop improper balance of your 3 back of arm bye-bye muscles called the triceps, it can lead to tennis elbow, shoulder issues, neck issues, carpal tunnel. When we do class in the real Pilates, there are a ton of movements that I do to activate that weaker little part of those triceps that most people overlook. And I stress that in all the classes that I do so that you can prevent that tennis elbow. Now, if you're starting to get tenderness, here is something you can do. Get a squishy ball with your elbow against your ribs and shoulder down. Squeeze that ball for 5 seconds and squeeze. Make sure that your wrist is not bending. Make sure that the elbow is not lifting. You can do that 5 to 15 times and try to do that 3 times a day. It's going to be a process to unravel that, but it will go away. Another one that is really, really good is for you to hold the fingers back on the side where you have that issue, because the wrist and the shortness of the digital flexor, it's a long story, can contribute to what is known as tennis elbow. And then one of my favorites is to bring that elbow against you with the shoulder down. Pretend that you have a glass of tea in your hand and flick the tea to the floor, then to the ceiling, palm down, palm up. Doing that range of motion without bending the wrist or lifting the shoulder and always holding the stomach really is going to relieve that tennis elbow. Hold to reduce inflammation, heat to stimulate healing. So we're talking about the joints of the body. And the joints of the body take longer to heal when there's an injury because the joints of the body, all of them, have very few or none of blood vessels to give them nutrition. They eat mostly from synovial fluid. Some of the joints have a little bit of veins, but just consider that most of them don't. And so those joints get nutrition just through that synovial fluid. But if the joint does not have movement, yes, it ain't eating. It's going to starve, and that is not good. The knee is a joint that so many people have an issue with. You know, like, why is everyone having knee issues, right? So there's a couple of reasons for that. What is a knee? A knee is really a meeting of 3 bones. So the end of your thigh, which is your femur, let's call it Larry. The tip of that Larry bone meets with the tibia. And on the side, the outside where the pinky toe is, there's another bone known as the fibia. Those 3 bones, it's really the first 2, the fibia's off to the side there, form the knee joint. If those 2 bones don't meet at the exact spot that they're designed to, they start to cause friction. That friction gives you pain. Remember, pain is your friend telling you something's wrong. That pain creates inflammation, puts liquid in there to try to heal that bad friction, to cushion it, and then that swelling adds more pain, and it starts a downward process. How do the knee joints end up out of alignment? So let's think about this. There's your leg bone. That leg bone doesn't move on its own. In the front of your thigh, you have 4 muscles. In the back of your thigh, you have 3. On the outside of the thigh, you have 2 major bands. There's a TFI, the IT. There's a couple other stuff, but let's just go with that. And then you have those inner thigh muscles that are 5. So can you see the disbalance? People love to do squats and lunges with the illusion that they're going to be hitting their glutes. There's a weighty, itty-bitty bit of glute, depending on the foot position, the foot spacing, and the deepness of the knee bend that will recruit the glute, recruit the butt muscles. Very small. So people squat themselves to oblivion and they overdevelop the front of their legs that already have 4 muscles as compared to the back that only has 3. People do cardio. It's excellent. I love cardio. People run, quad dominant. People cycle. Unless you're clipped in and know how to properly pull up, quad dominant. People swim. That will recruit more back of leg depending on what stroke you're doing. If you're doing the classic crawl, the one where you kick like this, there's a lot of hamstring. But if you do some of the frogging and some of the backstroke, it goes to other groups of the legs. So people tend to become more dominant in the front of their legs. Sitting changes the length of the quads, and it makes the strong quads shorter. So now you have this pressure on the kneecap. When you do real Pilates, we stress so much the hamstrings, the glutes, the inner thighs, because those things need a little bit more to keep the knee happy and to keep those knee joints meeting just perfectly. A lot of guys go to the gym. They don't want to work the back of their legs. Mitsuke, they don't want to. They want to work the front, teardrop, that little thing above the knee, which, yes, it's important to keep all of those things in good condition, but it's about how much you work each thing. When you do real Pilates, I make sure that you're working the complete range of muscles in the complete ratio in every class. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it. So here is a couple of things to not do to make your knees cranky. One thing is, do not sit on your heels with your knees bent for long periods of time. No. Number 2, do not sit so that your feet are tucked in behind your knees, right? So you're sitting in a bar stool and you pull your heels back. So your heel is now behind your knee. Super bad for the knees. And if you have a chair that you sit like that for a long period of time, it's going to, down the road, start to make your knees unhappy. If you sit on an ottoman, like you're sitting on your chair and you have the ottoman and your legs are out in front of you, if the back of the knee is hanging and not supported by something for long periods of time, for me, 5 minutes, okay, that is going to put a strain on the back of the knee and a group of tendons and muscles, the popliteus, the cruciate ligament, and all of those ligaments in the back and the side of the knee that is not good for the knee. It's important that you keep your knees happy. Don't touch the front of the knee with pressure. That patella needs to be able to float. So when you're exercising, I'm always telling you, when we do cross legs, make sure that the kneecap is not being squished by the other leg in front. It's super important. So a quick little check that you can do for your knees is stand up with your feet wide and parallel, keeping your chest up. Bend your knees and see if your knees go inward. Do they go outward? Do your kneecaps, if you can look in front of a mirror, track straight up and down, or do they shimmy to the sides? Because that means something. Don't forget, you have your free assessments. You can send me the pictures and send me a little video of your knees, and I'll tell you what exercises you need to do more of to keep the knees healthy and strong. Your muscles, obviously, are living things. When your muscle is happy and doesn't have a constant pull on it, your muscle is healthy. Muscles are designed to contract, relax, contract, relax. Muscle fibers, think of two hair combs. They slide into each other and then they come back out. They contract, they relax, they contract, they relax. When your muscle is constantly under pressure and it's forced to contract, that creates a current, an electrical current in that muscle, and it's called a piezo current, P-I-E-Z-O. It also happens in bones. We're going to talk about the muscle right now, that little piezoelectrical current. So you're sitting at your desk, and the keyboard and the chair and the armrest are the wrong length, and you slump forward. As you slump forward, there's a pull that's happening at the top of the shoulder here. Forget about what those muscles are called. Let's call them loud. There's the upper trapezius, there's the SCM, there's a whole bunch of stuff up there. That constant pull, that electropiezo current that is now happening in that muscle, just over there, just in that little spot. The body goes, hey, 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 we need reinforcements over there. So the body starts to add more cells. It creates thickness and a thickening of that area. Now that posture becomes more permanent. Then in the front of the chest, where there is a shortening, the body goes, hey, 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 because there's another piezo current here, different kind. And the body goes, there's too much slack over here. Let's pull that rope in the way you pull a sail of a sailboat. And that piezo current shortens that muscle. So you end up with that posture. Don't stress, that can be erased. As curled as you are, you can uncurl. When the muscle has now made this new strap, because it's a strap to hold that bowling ball head of ours, which is 1/7 of your body weight, the bones now feel that load. And the bones start to also, with their own piezo current, build more bone or take away bone, depending on what is going on. Because we've all seen these poor people that make me bleed that are all curled on the street. Walking down the street, you see people that are hunched. They weren't born that way, most of them. Some are, but most of them not. That happened over time, and that can be erased over time. When we lay flat in Pilates, gravity is now pulling down. This is a chance for us to undo those bad piezo currents and reestablish neutral or relaxed resting length. And the body's like, hey, there's no more pulling, there's less pulling. Let's take away some of those extra supports we put there. And so over time, that posture will undo. It's just about getting the layers of Pilates in. And don't stress out. You don't have to do 5 classes a week. 1 class a week is better than none. 2 is better than 1. 3 is better than 2. Pace yourself. Do what you can, even if you do 10 or 15 minutes of a class and can't finish it, it's fine. It's about just getting the layers in so that you unravel that tension in the body and you will change your posture and that will change your shape. You'll have more energy. You'll breathe better. You'll feel better and you'll look better. Cellular density. What does that mean? So there's different kinds of collagen in the body. There are different kinds of tissues in the body, and there's different density of all of these different textures within the body. So there's a looser density, like adipose, also known as fat. Fat is important for the body. There's good fat, and then there's less good fat, right? That's not dense. Then there's more dense, like a tendon. A tendon is used to stop a range of motion so that my arm doesn't go past there, because that joint is not designed to go past there. When it does, it's called hyperextension. Some people have joints that their tendon is not the right length. They were born that way, or they've stretched it that way by passive stretching. And now the joint is going to a range that it wasn't designed to move. The muscles and the joints are designed to get nutrition, especially the joints, strictly through movement. It's important that you do full ranges so that you have a free flow of nutrition. There's different speeds in which to work a joint. Sometimes we'll do the high end of the movement. We'll do the mid-range of the joint. We'll do the beginning range of the joint in different speeds, in different combinations, so that you're constantly stressing that joint in a positive way to keep nutrition getting in there. Sometimes a full range of motion is not getting enough nutrition because there has become a clog in that joint. We'll call it a clog, but it can be a strain, a stress, or an injury in that particular joint. It is a congestion. Sometimes it can happen more superficial in the lymphatic part of the body, or it can happen right in the joint. So there are times that movement is good, but you need something a little bit deeper. So this is when you would apply hold to help reduce the swelling. When you apply cold, it should never be ice on skin, ever. It should always be wrapped so it doesn't burn the skin, and that ice should be applied on and off, on and off. The ice should not be just thrown on there and left on there for 10 minutes. That does not do anything good for the joint. It overcools it. You want to do a little cooling and then take it off. A little cooling, take it off. And usually that's right after an injury or right after you feel a sharp discomfort. The heating, not boiling, gentle heating, and that also should be on and off, stimulates energy into that joint and helps stimulate with the healing of that joint. Gentle massage that cleans the congestion out of that muscle, that helps clear that joint, is also good. There's lymphatic massage that's so gentle. It's very superficial. You may not enjoy it. It may not feel good, but it's super good for the skin, for the joints, and for the fascia of the body. Cupping is another method of helping release that clog in the body. The modern cuppers use machines to do the cupping, but the traditional way, and the way that I do the cupping, is actually with a coin wrapped in cloth with dental floss wrapped around, and the little tail of that is dipped in olive oil. I have to show you how to do that. And then that is placed on the spot that hurts with a little tiny glass cup. Light it, put that coin there, and put the cup there. And when the oxygen in that glass cup, which is small, is consumed, the fire of that little coin goes off, but it raises the skin and it creates an unclog of that congestion. And then you just put your fingernail or something under there to take that vacuum, because it creates a vacuum, which is what creates the unclogging. But just play it safe until I show you. Use the conventional cupping machines so that you can get rid of the clogs. Sometimes you do need a specialist to help you with a specific kind of massage, that deep, deep tissue massage. 99% of the time, even though some of you may like it, it's not really good for the body, and it creates more swelling, more congestion, and more trauma, especially if the person doesn't know what the hell to do. Hydrating is also super important, with not just water, but with minerals. Coconut water is amazing. Mineral water, as I tell you all the time, is super important to drink. And of course, rest is also very important, even if you're feeling great. Try not to overdo. Try to have moderation. Even in moderation, says Buddha. So There are foods that you can eat to help your joints function better, recover better, and just stay better. Some of these foods are fatty fish, right? Those omega oils are super important. As we know, the salmon, the sardines, you're spitting at me. You don't like the sardines? What? Are super important. You can take the omega-3 and 6 in capsule. Just make sure that your omega oils are hexene free. And the test for that is get a styrofoam cup, pop the pill, leave that oil in that cup, and wait 2 days. If you see any kind of ulceration or eating away at that cup, you know that that oil was synthetically extracted and you should not be eating it. Cherries are super good because they are excellent for inflammation. Anything that's a fruit or a vegetable that is orange, oranges, sweet potato, and carrots, pumpkin, butternut squash have the carotenoids, are super, super good for the joints. Green leafy things have the lutein, right? So that's kale, Swiss chard, spinach, anything that's dark green and leafy. Ginger is a great anti-inflammatory, as is turmeric. There are many great anti-inflammatories. Vitamin C and vitamin A, which are water soluble, which you need to constantly replenish in the body, are excellent things also for the joints. Walnuts that have the ALAs, flaxseed, excellent for the joints. Avocados with that richness in vitamin E is also excellent for the joints. Remember that the joints only get the nutrition through movement. If you've had an injury, do gentle ranges of motion. Always listen to what your doctor recommends. The less you move the joint, the less nutrition will get in. Water is also super important, that hydration for that joint. And we always love water that has minerals in it, coconut water, and all of the good stuff. So the skin, the health of the skin is super important. There are things that we can eat to make that health of your skin even better. So oysters are super, super rich in minerals. All the shellfish, super rich in minerals, excellent for the skin. The clams, the mussels, you don't have to eat them raw. You can cook them. Oh, you hate them? Okay. Then there are walnuts that are super, super good for the skin because of the oils in them. There's hemp seed oil, chia seed oil, flax seed oil. We all know about that, and the omega-3s. If you have gotten sun, after the sun, if you can eat leafy green vegetables, it helps repair the damages that your skin may have gotten from the ultraviolet rays. So in that lutein that's in them, those leafy green vegetables, the kale, the Swiss chard, the collards, all of those things are excellent. Romaine lettuce, as opposed to other lettuces, also arugula, excellent. Blueberries are super good for the skin with their antioxidants, as are cherries, strawberries, blueberries, and blackberries. Broccoli and cauliflower actually help absorb some of the UV radiation that you've absorbed, and it helps bring it out of the body if it's in excess. So those are things that are super good for you to eat. Eggs are also excellent for the skin. And as we know, the good fats, extra virgin olive oil, raw coconut oil are some of the things that are good for the skin. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and you can put those oils on your skin as well as them. So we've talked about the myofascia and the fascia, but there are things you can do to keep your fascia healthy. As the fascia becomes unhealthy, not only can it give you chronic pain and injury, even worse than that, cellulite. I know. So it's important to have good hydration to help combat the breakdown in that fascia. Gentle massage is excellent for the fascia, not aggressive, and dry brushing. So I love the boar's hair brushes. You can use the loofah if you're in the vegan thing. dry them. And it's good to brush that skin before you get into that shower with small circular movements or strokes upwards or downwards toward the heart. So for this part of my arm, I'm going to brush downward. For the legs, I'm going to go upward. I start all the way at the feet and I come upward. Super good to also massage and rub the feet and then come on up, as the feet and the fascia are all connected and run throughout the whole body. Heat is also excellent for stimulating that fascia. Poor posture weakens the fascia. So, of course, real Pilates is excellent for the fascia, as we know. Cupping is excellent for the fascia if done correctly. So if you look in all the new scientific journals that are coming out and the Boston Medical Journal, they all have discovered that springy movements help regenerate the fascia health. What is a springy movement? Pilates, baby, real Pilates. A movement that has rebound to it with a spring attached to it. So in real Pilates mat, we use our arms and our body and our legs as springs. And so that is super good for the fascia. If you do the machine classes, we use real springs. And of course, the fascia loves the springiness of the springs. Tight fascia, when your fascia becomes tight, it can lead to, don't cry now, constipation, yeah, baby. Bad for the digestive tract and digestive restrictions. It can also add to irritable bowel syndrome. When you do the real Pilates and we do the extension and flexion, or bending this way and that way, flexion and extension, it really helps put that fascia back into its springy goodness. The nerves, the nerve pain, the chronic nerve pain. So nerves are designed to turn on and off. You touch, you don't touch. You touch, you don't touch. When the nerve becomes overstimulated, hyperstimulation, that can lead to inflammation and that can lead to pain. Yes, when you have pain, pain is like, hey, 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 and it's poking at that nerve, right? So the pain starts to overstimulate that nerve. So sometimes, very often, the pain goes away, but the nerve is still upset. That's very common with sciatic. Chronic nerve pain is something that many doctors say can never be healed. And that is a lie. And there is clinical proof that it can be. It is a long process. When you have pain in one area that is longer than 3 months, you are at risk for hyperstimulating that nerve and having chronic pain. To release that chronic pain, the first thing is to find out what has been causing that pain, right? You had an injury, you want to heal it, you want to rest it. If you have a bad alignment and every time you move, that nerve is being triggered. So you want to make sure that you can find the cause and then calm the nerve. Acupuncture done correctly, because you may have tried acupuncture, but maybe you didn't go to a good one. So try another one. Acupuncture done correctly is one of the best things to turn off that chronic nerve pain and calm it down. Exercise also calms the nerve by showing that nerve, look, 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 we're moving. Look, 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 look. That pain is gone. Gentle movement in small ranges. You want to get oxygen into that nerve. Gentle massage, electrostimulation. They have units called TENS units, TENS. We can get them on Amazon. They're not expensive. They're usually battery operated, and you apply it to where you have pain, and that helps ease that nerve pain. Always listen to your doctor, because I'm not a doctor. But if your doctor tells you that that chronic pain is not curable, go to another doctor, because they are wrong. And of course, there are then surgery and nerve blocks that they give a little shot to temporarily relax that nerve so that then that nerve can heal.